Brought to you by Penguin.
The Blood Divide by Dhand. Read by Irvine Iqbal. Prologue. 1947. Punjab, India. "Hurry," whispered Rani, pulling at Amrita's arm. "They're coming." Amrita was shaking, terrified that the moment they had all been dreading had arrived. Rani kept her hand clasped firmly around her best friend's wrist, taking care not to drop Sandeep, her 6-month-old baby, cradled in her other arm. The crowd of women around them moved quickly, some glancing over their shoulders, their eyes wide with terror. Rani heard more urgent whispers. "They're coming." Amrita began to sob, but Rani had no words to console her, to dispel her deepest fears. Sandeep caught on to the feverish atmosphere and began to cry. Usually he only cried when he was hungry. Now it was because he could sense the danger. They needed to get to the village hall to have the best chance of surviving the night. The sun was setting now, but the thick heat was taking its toll. 2 women in front of Rani collapsed from dehydration. None of them had been given any warning, no time to prepare or make an escape. Sweat dripped from Rani's temple onto Sandeep's face. She latched him quickly to her nipple, and as he sucked what little energy she had, she wiped the perspiration from his cheeks and tried not to break down. Her little man, so beautiful, so perfect. She wished her husband was here. She looked up to the heavens. "Protect us," she whispered. Her feet dragged along the dusty footpath, baked hard and unforgiving by the blistering sun. The local wells had dried up weeks ago. Water was rationed. Once inside the hall, she kept her arm firmly round Amrita to make sure they weren't separated. The hall was swollen with women. It had reached capacity some time ago, yet still they crammed inside. Amrita was only 18, a year younger than Rani. They had their whole lives ahead of them. Women fanned the hot air, trying desperately to cool their young and stop themselves from passing out. Losing the battle, Amrita slumped to the ground. Rani could only watch, helpless, fighting to stay upright herself. She looked around for some water, but there was none. With the doors sealed behind them, the 100 or so women of the village sat roasting in the dark and airless room. Nervous, terrified chatter broke out. "They're coming! They're here!" A pungent smell of sweat suffocated the room. Sandeep lay still in Rani's arms. She wasn't sure if he was sleeping or... She pushed the thought from her mind. She was terrified he wouldn't last the night, boxed in this heat. But none of them was certain of survival. And there were things far worse than the heat. Rani glanced at the exit doors. A woman had stood up and was fighting to escape, to take her chances outside where the men of the village were preparing to defend their land. The 2 men at the doors pushed her to the floor. She stood to come at them again. This time they drew their swords, and the woman backed away, slumping her shoulders in defeat. Tanveer Singh, the eldest leader of the village, and her father-in-law appeared on stage at the front of the hall. A babble of distress swept the room. Rani stared at him, searching his face for a truth she didn't want to accept. Tanveer beckoned his daughter to join him on stage. She was only 11, a small, meek girl with long black hair. Her grey Punjabi suit was too big, and the hems of the trousers trailed along the floor as she shuffled towards her father. He muttered something in her ear, and she fell to her knees, head bowed. He looked up, his face ashen. "They are here," he said. The women began to cry, softly though, as if they knew their fate had been decided when the doors had been sealed. This blind acceptance of what was about to happen upset Rani the most. She looked down at her little man, innocent and beautiful, lost in his last dream. At the front of the hall, Tanveer removed his kurban, the sword he carried as a devout Sikh, from his waist. He raised it high above his daughter's head. Few women had the courage to watch.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?